All right, great. So, as I said, we're going to do wireframes and some stuff around content today. Um, and we're going to start off. I'm going to stop the screen share for a sec, and I'm going to switch it to be just like a general full screen share so I can peruse around between my various desktops because we have to have designated Safari window for for New Paltz graphic design blog, but then designated other windows for other things. Cool. So I'm not going to go through this and read it to you line by line, because again, the idea here is that I don't keep you guys on here for a terribly long time today. Um, I found this really great resource that kind of covers a lot of what I'm going to communicate in class today around wireframing, specifically in the content of web design, the context of web design. A lot of stuff that will come up online if you're like Googling like how to make wireframes and stuff, it'll be really focused on like web applications or just like native applications where it's like really interactive and stuff, while like what we're doing is a little bit more simple. It's a static website, it's not too crazy. But I did like this resource for how it kind of goes through what wireframes are and like where they fit into the design process. um I've not watched this YouTube video, so I don't know if it's good or not. You can watch if you want to, but I didn't link you this with the intention of forcing you to watch it. um Kind of goes over like what wireframes are. Wireframes are basically just like sketches of what the design of your website might look like. Um, Generally you have like a little bit of an idea of like what kind of content you might have, but you're not really all that sure yet. It's also, I find, a really good exercise for figuring out what content you actually need. Because a lot of times people will start putting things from their sitemap onto a wireframe and they're like, wow, this web page has nothing on it, actually. Dang. And it's a good reality check of like, oh, do I actually have enough? Um, that can help prompt you when you do a content inventory and start developing a content doc. It's like a good jumping off point to do what's called low fidelity wireframes, which is just like getting a marker to some paper, drawing some pictures of what you think it might look like, not worrying about like fonts, not worrying about too much with like the layout or composition, just kind of getting your ideas represented on the page a little bit more than you would in a sitemap, but not like you would in a mock-up, which is like actually making a picture of what it would look like. It helps save time. It keeps you from getting to the design stage and being distracted by all that like visual language stuff of like what your fonts are, what your colors are, and everything. It helps you determine your structure as you go. Later on in the process, we'll work on mock-ups and prototypes in Figma that are like much more high fidelity. They will look a lot like what your final website will look like. And the prototype will even like kind of work. It'll have what are called hotspots and let you switch between different images of pages and kind of simulate the experience of using a website. But wireframes is really early in the process. It's kind of, I like this statement here that they say that it's websites are, wireframes are to websites what blueprints are to buildings. I think that's a really good way to um, summarize it. Like your headings, that your heading text might be there, but probably your paragraphs might just be like some lines that show a paragraph is gonna go there, kind of a thing. Um, there it talks a little bit about like dedicated wireframing tools. Today we're just gonna focus on drawing them by hand because I like to first meet you guys where you're at a little bit before just throwing a million tools at you. And I do think it can be kind of good to get off the computer and like try out letting your ideas flow in a setting you're a bit more comfortable. It does talk about some other places people do that work. Um, and later on, like next week, I'm hoping that we can wireframe in Figma and do something a little bit more high fidelity. But I think it's a good idea to just kind of start it off simple. So like they kind of recommend the process of first having a sitemap, starting with sketching, which is the part that we're going to do today and into Monday. Um, and then going into digital ones after. For now, like what we're talking about today, we're just talking about the sketching part. We'll do digital wireframes later. Just wanted to make sure that's super clear. And that those wireframes are what we'll later use to do our actual prototypes and mock-ups. So I like this article. It's like a good summarization of the process. You don't have to like watch the YouTube videos on everything. It's not insanely long. But I do think it helps kind of get an idea of what all this is. Um, but also, I'm going to kind of just do a walkthrough of what I'm hoping to have y'all do in the next couple of days. So if you followed my requests coming into class today, you probably have a sitemap. Mind you, is it the sitemap that's going to represent your final website? Maybe not necessarily, like it might end up changing. A draft of a sitemap is sufficient for the time being to help figure out what's going in your wireframe. So in my example sitemap I have here, this is for a sample website I did in a past semester with this class. I might keep using it, time will tell, called Roll HV. And like my idea for my website was a website that showed like all the different ways of roller skating that exist in the Hudson Valley, because I really like to roller skate. And so I have like a home page, and I have a page I want to do on like the different roller rinks we have, a page that is focused on skate parks, because you can roller skate in a skate park, believe it or not. And there's another form of roller skating called trail skating, where like you just like get on a paved trail and you just roller skate for miles. And so like what trails around here are good for that. So in this example for my wireframe, see, look, I just took a blue Sharpie to paper. It's really simple stuff. This is an example just of my homepage where I thought about like what I might put on it. So like I'm saying, make sure you do them by hand. You'll notice this example one is like phone width. In general, with all of our deliverables, we'll work mobile first. And oftentimes if we're just going to do one screen width, we'll just do mobile, because that also tends to warrant people to do one column layouts instead of doing something super complex, and think about the content rather than jumping into too much, getting ahead of yourselves a little bit. You're going to work on your own FigJam board for this. This one's just for looking at, just want to avoid some confusion there. And then you'll see over here, I've like drawn what my site navigation will look like, because like I wouldn't be able to fit all my links onto the picture of a mobile wireframe. Like what would happen if I clicked on the hamburger menu thing. You only have to draw that once. Like if you do like a page for every single screen you want a wireframe, you don't have to like redraw the navigation every time. And so in my little example one, the idea with this would be that you're doing 4 of these, that I have one. I would eventually build this out to be home, rinks, skate parks, and trails. But I figure I get the idea across well enough with just my home page. So I got my like top area, and it has my navigation, which is a little hamburger menu with the links to my interior pages. And then that says logo, and I drew a little blob to represent its logo. So I'm not worrying about what the logo actually looks like. I decided I want to put the name of the website really big, so I just wrote it right on there. And then I was like, oh, like what if it was like a text on top of a photo? I thought that'd be cool. And so like I kind of just drew some lines behind it and wrote the word photo. It's very inspired design work here. And then I thought, oh, it might be neat if I have like little sections that show what the interior pages are in the site. And then I started running out of space and forgot the fact that I might like to add a map. I think I would have been less ambitious with my sample images for these. These little triangles are supposed to be image icons. Um, Again, this is very low fidelity. It can be scrappy. And then my map, I think, will probably end up being bigger, but I just ran out of space on the page. And then I drew a little arrow over here to show my footer. And I decided to have my logo in there and maybe like some links, and that says social media icons. And so that wireframe kind of helped me think through what I might want to put there a little bit. And now I'm going to write up a list. This is what the content inventory part is, of what things are on this page. So I determined I wanted to have a navigation. So that's kind of an obvious one. Put my logo. My logo is going to link back to my homepage if they click or tap on it. And then each of my interior pages. I got my name of the website. I decided I want like an image, maybe somebody skating. My interactive map. I decided maybe I want to actually put that higher up. I don't know. And then little cards that feature each page on the site, and then my footer. And so the idea there is that I'm like kind of looking at my wireframe. I ideated a bit through what my page might look like a little bit. And then I'm just drawing up a list of like, okay, here's everything that I included in there. And I might even come up with other ideas of things I should include. And where I'm going from there is what I like to call a content outline. And that's actually, I'm doing this in a Word doc. You might have another place that you like to write things on your computer. Feel free to use whatever you like. But the idea is that you have a space where you get like, I find it can be hard to like write content for something when I'm not in like a word processing writing environment. And so it can be helpful to like have like a literal document that you do this in. Um, and in particular, like if you're using Word, it has some really, really great features for kind of like the heading structure stuff I've been talking about with HTML, where, hello. Oh, I see. My Word window is not wide enough to have what I'm looking for. Okay. So in Word, there is like the regular little page view, but then there's also like your document outline. Google Docs has this too. I find it really helpful in stuff like this where I'm like determining information hierarchy for something while also writing stuff. Um, and basically what I'm doing in here is it's a space for me to kind of hash out what I'm putting on pages, so that I'm not like having to try to write long form content like in Figma or in FigJam because it's not like the best environment for doing that. Um, and let me bring this over here so I'm near my content inventory while I'm working. So maybe up top, my navigation, I feel like I kind of am summarizing what's in it by just having these all be the same heading level. Um, this title at the top of the page, I have set to be, in here you can choose your heading level. So I have this set to be at H1, which is why it has that higher hierarchy level. And then each of the pages, I set them to be heading 2s in my Word doc, just to make it easier to kind of peruse on through everything. And so now I can look at my little content inventory I've built there. And I'll ignore the part with the navigation. I actually put it in different colored post-it notes, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. And I can kind of work my way through my post-it notes. So I'm going to have heading 1, row HV, because that's the name of my website. And then I'm going to need a photo of a skater. And then I want to make an interactive map. And so that I can do, I'll leave a note to myself, like do this in Google My Maps, which is a part of Google Docs, actually. You can make like little embeddable custom maps. And then I have interior page cards. And that I'm going to go into more detail about like what that is because I didn't really get to write that out anywhere in here. And so I'm going to have maybe these bullets to help me with this. Yeah, bullets. And I have rinks, skate parks, and trails. And then each of those cards is going to need a photo of a rink. Like, so now I know I need a photo of a rink. I need probably like a heading 2, since I already have a heading 1 at the top there. The next heading level down would be a heading 2. And so this is going to be photo of a skate park. And then heading level 2, skate parks. And then same thing with trails, which I've spelled with trials. Some of them are trials. Okay. And so I can even like utilize some color coding here. Like, oh, what if I want to make it easy to figure out what photos I need? So I'm going to have to go and do that. So at this point, I need to hunt down, like, I'm starting to kind of make a bounty list of things I need to figure out. So, like, a part of what I would need to do here is go and find all of the images for this, um, which I don't necessarily need to go through all that right now here, but I will give some general guidance with that. If you can use photos that you took, like that's the easiest way to get copyright stuff is like, oh, I own this picture, I took it. Um, Google Photo, if you're somebody that has an Android phone, use Google Photos. The search bar in Google Photos is awesome. Like you can search for, like if I go in there and I look up skater, it'll show me like all the pictures of people roller skating I have in my Google Photos from like the last 6 years. Um, I think Apple Photos might have a similar feature, but I'm not entirely sure. If you don't have pictures of the thing that you want to use, um, just remember you have to make sure that you are attributing your the source of your photos. But there are also really great sites online. Like this is one I use quite a lot. It's called Pexels. Uh, you can go into Pexels and it has a bunch of photos you can use. They're pretty high res. They're not like ugly or anything. And looks like I need to get more specific in my search term. And like if I was like, oh, I like this picture, like I can download it. And this stuff is all just free to use and you don't have to like attribute it even. It gets as if you took your own picture. So Pexels is pretty good for that. And there's another one I've used for a while that's Pixabay. I'm sure you've gone over this in other graphic design classes, but like just in case you hadn't, um, I feel like that's worth mentioning. And like another thing I can do is if there's like a couple ideas for photos that I like, I can like grab links to them. And so I could be like, I could just like put some bullets under it of links to images I'm thinking about using. Because when I'm doing my design, I might decide one picture works better than another. So maybe even having multiple options can be good. Um, I'm like, oh, that person's cool. Like the idea is to like get more specific about like what actual images you're using. If you need to, if you're looking to like embed a map or embed a Spotify playlist or something, like go and make those things now. Or at least do like a first version of it. You can always edit it if you realize you did it wrong later. Um, but it'll just make the process of doing everything a lot easier if you like do this like work now. And so like my advice is to do those wireframes, kind of annotate them out as to what you need, what you're gathering you need from looking at them, and then kind of work in a document to like actually hash out what content you need. Um, if you notice you have paragraph text in your wireframes, like if you've drawn like a bunch of horizontal lines to represent you want to put a paragraph there, like figure out what that paragraph is, like actually type it out. Don't just like leave it be paragraph goes here, because it'll be still staring at you in 3 weeks and you'll be sad. Um, does that make sense to everybody? All right, cool. Well, that's kind of like everything I wanted to go over with you. Um, that's stuff you can work on your own. You don't have to sit in the Zoom to do it. Um, and then if anyone has questions, hang out here and I'm happy to help even if it's something from last class or the class before. I'm going to stop the recording. Like, comment, subscribe.